We have been baited, we have been cucked. Mugaraga did not arrive this chapter, quite unfortunate. However, Jujutsu Kaisen chapter 218 was still quite fire. The fight between Sukuna and Yorozu continues, with us learning more about Yorozu's abilities, which I'll get into shortly, and more, past information about her. And most importantly, Sukuna using Shinigami we have never seen before, so more of the 10 shadows have finally been revealed. And one of them is amongst the strongest we've ever seen, so that's pretty cool to talk about. Of course, if you're new here and enjoy Jujutsu Kaisen content, make sure to subscribe. And yes, I do look quite weird today, don't worry about it. I have some crazy genetics, so the beard will be back in like a few days, so don't worry too much. Straight away, we learn about Yorozu's biggest weakness and how she was able to overcome it. Pretty much she had a high energy consumption of her curse technique. This resulted in her finding out a way to overcome this and pretty much getting inspiration from bugs, how they're able to conserve energy to such a high degree. For example, utilizing their bodies to pick up things hundreds of times over their own weight. Pretty much connecting this concept with her cursed ability, resulting in the transformation we got to see last chapter, with the following statement about it. That insect armor was the ultimate form of construction sorcery. So all the hype going into Yorozu's power I talked about in the previous video is kinda warranted at this point. The rank is actually deserved, even though at the end of this chapter it seems like she's at a losing position against Sukuna. She's still able to fight him in his current state quite well, with a majority of characters in the series not being able to do that. So with that alone, that's quite impressive. And we also learned this. Using this combat style, Yorozu pushed back the 5 Void Generals, which apparently were on par with the Celestial Squad, which was led by this character. So Yorozu alone is able to take out a squad which involves this character and other characters. So very clearly, without a doubt, Yorozu's above that level of power, which was very clear. Sukuna just took out Ryu with like 0 diff. So naturally, Yorozu will be above that level of power. Just more clarification that she is quite a bit above that level, which is good to learn. And then from there, she lands a few direct strikes on Sukuna here, and they do some damage. We see his face actually bruised in the following panels, and he seems to be a little bit annoyed to some degree. He's not bleeding or anything like that, but these attacks are doing some damage to him, which, once again, something important to note. Any damage characters are able to do against Sukuna, I'm definitely just going to mention for the sake of, hyping other characters up, because it's literally Sukuna, potentially the strongest, or at least the second strongest character in the whole series, especially right now. And you could even say he has been pushed to such a degree, he pulls out a Shinigami we've never seen before, and potentially one of the strongest. The Deer Shinigami has arrived, and it has the following ability, which is kinda crazy. Do take note, this is Yorozu assuming the ability. It could be something else, but it's most likely the case. I see, that Shinigami's ability is healing with reversed curse technique. So a reverse curse technique healing. However, it also seems to have the ability to neutralize and or erase cursed energy. As we see here, according to Yorozu, it was able to erase the cursed energy flowing through the liquid metal. This is of course what has resulted in her transformation, the whole bug thing. Quite broken, so the Deer Shinigami, one of the strongest in the whole of the 10 shadows. Sadly, Megumi was never able to use this. If he was to return in the future, somehow, some way, my personal belief is it's going to happen, but only when Gojo is released. We see the fight between Gojo and Sukuna. Gojo sacrificed himself to take out Sukuna, and then Megumi is released. And then we have like the big final battle against Kenjaku. That's my theory on how Sukuna and Gojo are going to end. As if you don't know, the Jujutsu Kaisen manga is actually ending very shortly, or you could say it's on its final stages of the manga. So that's how I believe that situation will end. So when Megumi is released, he'll most likely have access to all the 10 shadows, and this is going to be very useful just with its reverse curse technique alone. However, Sukuna having this at his disposal is of course quite broken. From there, we learn what's actually going on with Sukuna's Shinigami summons, or at least some of them where they still seem to be in like their shadow form more so. This is what the chapter states. By intentionally keeping the Shinigami's form unstable, the effective range of Sukuna's 10 Shadows technique is increased, and the Shinigami is protected from complete destruction. So not fully unleashing them allows them to be destroyed without the Shinigami completely disappearing. The trade-off is that the Shinigami cannot act independently and their attack power plummets, so not as strong. However, to compensate for that, Sukuna is using his own immense curse energy to increase their power naturally. So once again, the 10 Shadows are proving the praise that Gojo had given to them at the start of the series, that their ability that pretty much rivals his own. This is pretty much explored with Sukuna being able to use it better than what Megumi has ever been able to. Do take note, the bull and the deer were fully manifested by Sukuna here. I'm guessing this is due to wanting to unleash the full extent of their abilities and powers, which is most likely limited if they aren't fully manifested as well. However, coming back to the fight itself now, Sukuna was able to land a pretty deadly combo on Yorozu, using the bull to hit her around everywhere, and then dropping the total elephant directly on her, resulting in her bug armor to get absolutely destroyed. Yes, she's still alive here, but she pretty much is on the losing end. And then we have Sukuna kinda laugh at her with something I never expected to see from him in the series. This character and a whole love for him dynamic has brought about a essence of Sukuna we haven't seen whatsoever in all 200 chapters so far. But the chapter ends with Yorozu continuing her love, and I'm guessing she's gonna have some type of power up potentially. Her main goal at this fight, apart from wanting to defeat and kill Sukuna and, you know, marry him and all that stuff, is to actually result in Sukuna to unleash his own curse technique. Sukuna of course doesn't want to do that to keep Megumi's soul pretty much from disappearing, and wants to kill his supposed sister with his own abilities. We'll have to wait and see what happens, who's going to come out on top in that regard. I think Yorozu is maybe going to force Sukuna to use one of his curse techniques from the shrine, so we'll have to wait and see, but that's pretty much everything for the chapter. I liked it. Yorozu, while getting beat up at the end of the chapter, is still one of the strongest characters in the series thus far. Sukuna is just a monster at using the 10 Shadows as expected. The more we learn about them, the stronger they really seem to be. Magaraga could still come out, as Sukuna does have this above his head still. We'll have to wait and see, and we don't really get explained what's going on with that. Is this allowing him to use the 10 Shadows better? We don't really know. Hopefully next chapter that gets explained. There doesn't seem to be a break, so stay tuned for next week's video. But subscribe, check out all the other stuff in the description if you haven't already, and that's it guys, peace.